Hello, welcome to Principles of Yoga Instruction. This page is dedicated to supporting yoga teachers. In this video, we're going to continue discussing the student, getting to know your student. If you're just joining me and this is the first video that you've been watching, I recommend you go back and maybe check out some of the other videos regarding the student because I'm going to be referencing some of that information here. So we have already talked about sort of identifying your student's intention and their agenda for their practice. We've talked about developing the tools to be able to support and guide your students along their journey. Now, the question that I'm going to ask today is, are they your student, right? How do you know if that relationship between you and your student is developing and developing in a positive way so that the lines of communication are open, so that trust is being established, and the information can be passed on? It's your job as the teacher, as we've mentioned before, to figure out how your student learns and to teach to that, right? It's not the student's job to figure you out. You're the teacher. It's your job to learn how they learn so that you can most effectively pass on the information, so that you can most effectively guide them in their practice. So what if you've used up all the tools in your toolbox and you're not making that connection? And the information is not getting through, and it doesn't seem like your student is benefiting from you. This can happen. Not every student and teacher connect and bond and start and develop that relationship. That might be a time to have a discussion with that student, to ask them if they feel that they benefit from taking class with you. Ask them why they're there, right? It may be that you are the only teacher that is anywhere near them or that has the schedule that works with their life. And that relationship might not develop, but this is their only opportunity to get in practice. Acknowledging that and recognizing that can only benefit how you interact with that student. You can then, if that's the case, if the relationship isn't developing and the student recognizes that this is all I've got, then let them have it, right? You don't need to push the relationship. Let them have the space to connect to their practice, to get on their mat. In that case, you are simply a space holder for someone else's experience, and that's fine. That's valuable in and of itself. And you may, that may change over time. You may begin as that for a student, simply a space holder. It may take students a lot longer or to develop that relationship, to open up and feel connected to you. You may develop as a teacher in ways that over time you gain new tools and you learn how to connect with that student, and the relationship can evolve from there. Or life just changes. Life changes all of us, and as those shifts happen, our relationships with each other shift as well. There may come a time where a student is in your space and creates a negative experience, not only for you, but for the rest of the class. This is a very difficult situation to face. As the teacher, you are the authority in the room, and you are responsible for the experiences to a degree for everyone else there. And allowing another student, let's say, for example, they just don't follow the sequence, they don't follow instruction, they kind of do their own thing, jump into handstand willy-nilly, get up and move around. Maybe they even change the thermostat. I've had that happen. Open windows, right? Or are just sort of all over their mat and disruptive to other students. It's time to have a conversation with them and see if there's a way that they can participate in the class. Let them know your expectations. that they participate in the class in a way that's respectful and not disruptive to the others, in a way that respects your authority and the structure and discipline of the class. If that's not possible, you have the right to refuse to teach. I know that this is not very customer service oriented, but you have the right to refuse to teach students, and I want all of you as teachers to own that. Other circumstances that can arise is if a student is trying to get too familiar, crossing that line, right? There is a veil, a boundary in the teacher-student relationship, and violations of that boundary can happen in both directions. Certainly we've seen in the media, we've seen with many high-profile lineages and practices and methods, Anusara, Bikram, and most recently Ashtanga, that teachers can power trip on their position. And this can result in abuses of many variations and degrees, and in many forms. Sexual abuses, physical abuses, emotional abuses, simple power tripping, and that violates a sort of boundary that is innate and should be innate to the teacher-student relationship. The violation of that boundary can go in the other direction as well, where students are aiming to develop too much intimacy with their teacher. This can happen in the romantic sense. It can also happen simply on a platonic level. Many of us as teachers have the experience of teaching our friends or our partners, and it's a very delicate dance. That if you have a personal relationship, it can interfere with the position of authority that I believe as a teacher, I believe it's important. And it's difficult when you are that person in authority to tell someone that you have a relationship with that is equal in other experiences of life, tell them what to do. So it's a delicate dance. It can be done, but it all depends on the personalities involved, the type of relationship that's there, and how you sort of negotiate that experience. But some students can push that and make it uncomfortable for you, and again, be disruptive for the energy of the entire classroom. And in cases like that, you have the right to refuse to teach. Does that mean banning? I don't know, I don't like the word banning, but sometimes, yes, banning may be necessary, depending on the severity of the infraction. You have that right. You don't have to engage with someone who is abusive or invasive or harassing you. I have had the experience of students who just seem to not want to be taught. I have mentioned in previous videos that if they're coming to your class, assume that they want to be taught by you. They chose to come, they paid their money, they put down their mat, they're there. Assume that they want your information and they want your interaction. If you've used all your tools and it seems like you keep hitting resistance and keep hitting a wall, have a conversation. It may be that they are getting tremendous amount of benefit and you don't realize it. Or that they are getting plenty of benefit to the degree that they are willing and able to open up in that moment. Don't push it, don't force it. Again, hold the space. But don't allow them to become disruptive, right? This is the balance. Honoring that student and their intention for their practice, while at the same time not letting them do whatever they want in a way that becomes disruptive or disrespectful to you or anyone else in the room. Conversations, communication, be willing to acknowledge that someone is not your student. It's okay to refuse to teach. It may also just be that a student comes to you and you don't have any information of value to them. That their experience with their bodies, their experience with their practice is so outside of your personal experience as a practitioner and as a teacher that you kind of got nothing for them. Or possibly a student comes to you that has a practice that is technically more advanced than yours. Now, in those cases, I still truly believe that each of us, because we come from our own experiences, each of us, no matter what level we come from, have something to offer each other that can benefit each other. But at some point, it may be that you've shared all of that and they need more. I think that it's your responsibility as a teacher, if you recognize that you may not be benefiting your student, to suggest and recommend that they find another teacher. And do a little bit of the legwork, do a little bit of the research for them. Know the teachers in your community and in your town, in your within your technique, your method, so that you have someone to refer them to, right? Link them up. If you think someone can benefit your student better than you, the best thing you can do as a teacher is guide them to that. Whew, we touched on a lot of stuff, some heavy stuff, and I jumped around a bit. I hope you were able to follow me. But I do think that this is an important topic. If anyone has questions or comments, please share. Like and subscribe this video and this channel. I will continue to post stuff that I think is beneficial to the yoga teaching community. Just sharing what I've learned along the way. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.